Hey guys, Rebel Engine 95, recording live from your local county prison cell. I've had a busy week. I am going to have a busy week next week, and this is really the only point I'm going to be able to get a fight in. And it's not a very important one, but it's one that I've actually wanted to do for a little bit. I've decided that I'm going to put in the work for it. So this is Twintelle from Arms. This is the first time I'm having an Arms character in one of my videos. And Cerebella from Skullgirls, which, this is like the second or third time. These are two very unique franchises and two very unique characters for that matter, so it's not something that, I need to worry about. This is gonna be a fun one. So I'm gonna surface this by saying that I don't actually know a lot about Arms. I've played it like once as a demo. I've only played Skullgirl a handful of times, but I know the lore a little bit better. If I get any attack names or I don't know any attack names or something, don't hold it against me. Twintelle is, uh, mostly like any other Arms character, right? The springy arms, except what is unique about her is that her arms are normal and her hair is her arms. And this, funnily enough, in a world with, people with springs for arms and, living mummies and shit, this is enough of a scientific wonder for the, lead science research facility in the world to constantly be bugging her to get her a strand of her hair so that they can study it, which she refuses. Um, she has a standard layout that I'm going to be using because there are thousands of customizable weapons and arms, and it would be ridiculous not to use the standard provided ones when, that's kind of how Death Battle operates. So the first one she uses, it's like an icy glove. I forget what it's called. Um, so yeah, it's a glove that she wears on her hair, arms, and it has an ice effect. It's an ice attribute kind of attack, so it leaves it does like ice damage, right? The second one she has is a parasol, which is a slow projectile that deflects attacks while it's being launched. And the third one is the Thunderbird, which is an electrical attribute attack that fires in a curve and will actually curve around twice to hit the opponent. If it misses, it'll curve back around and try to hit them again. And if it hits them, it'll circle back at a different angle and try to hit them again. So, very tricky weapon. And among her more unique abilities is actually her ability to temporarily, I think it has a name. It's called like Starstruck or something. I don't know, something like that. Um, she temporarily can slow down time for a few seconds. Not freeze it, but slow it down. Um, and this requires like a minute recharge or something, like all arms abilities. So, it's not as useful as something like, the world time stop or something, but it's, being able to slow down time in when she's a character with a long reach character, that's very helpful because it helps her be able to plan out her, method of attack, plan out her angling and everything, get everything perfect. Uh, because, like every ARMS character, she is a long to mid range fighter. Up close is not where she wants to be. She does not want to be up close. So that's kind of the position she's in, and her weapons are actually very suited for that. Like being able to block incoming attacks with the parasol, being able to, uh, you know, being able to hit you with ice, which would, naturally slow down your reaction and everything, slow down your movements, being slightly frozen, and also having like that the Thunderbird to be, and electricity is going to slow you down. Obviously, it's going to prevent you from moving and reacting as quickly, and having that circle back so that you're kind of stuck dodging that instead of approaching her. It's very well suited for that. So, she's a very well equipped fighter in her own universe, let alone in a death battle universe. But the same could be said about her opponent, which is Cerebella. Now, Cerebella is what is it? Cerebella is, I believe, she's part of a criminal circus, right? It's the Cirque de Criminale or whatever it's called, something like that. Again, not super familiar with the names. And she is essentially an orphan who was taken in by one of the leaders of this circus, and she kind of like pledges her complete loyalty to this guy, to the point where, in determining when she was in a fight that would determine whether she would, be able to work there, or be able to be like the head bodyguard or whatever for one of the leaders. She actually jumped in the way of knives that were thrown at him, right, and intentionally took them, and lost. But it was still determined that she would be the bodyguard because not only did she show that she was willing to risk her own well-being for the leader, but also that she would have won the fight if she hadn't done that. So, she was capable and had the right mentality for it. Um, Part of this is uh, because of her hat, I guess you would call it. It's a sentient being, very similar to the other Skullgirls character who has like the symbiote hair. She has a living creature on her head. I forgot. Damn it. That would have been the thing to remember. Out of all the things to remember, that would have the name of the fucking hat. Anyway, it's two giant arms as a hat. Like, and when I say giant, I mean like bigger than the entirety of her body. And it is, and it's an incredibly, it's kind of like a symbiote being that will, that fights alongside her. Not really alongside her, kind of fights for her, and she's the host for it. So, and this thing, it's not only strong enough to knock back fighters like Beowulf, who have ripped the arm off of giant monsters before and used them as weapons, but it's also strong enough to grab projectiles out of midair, like rocks, and crush them into diamonds. So she's strong enough, this thing is strong enough to crush rocks into diamonds, right? To turn them into diamonds by squeezing them hard enough. Like, that's insane. Um, of course, like all Skullgirls characters, she went through her story arc, got the wish or whatever, and it tragically turns on her, so she's destined to become the next, that sort of thing. Um, but I mean, that's pretty. It's a big punchy girl at that point, right? I'm not trying to downplay it, but it's just without knowing all the details, it's really hard to describe it. Um, but yeah, who do I think of? Who am I thinking in this? Well, nor like on the surface level, it seems like Twintelle has this because of all of the variety of weapons I mentioned and like the being able to slow down time, like having that much control over her environment is super, super helpful, right? However, Cerebella, uh, being able to being fast enough to grab projectiles out of the air and just annihilate them, um, is pretty. It's pretty much like a hard counter to any projectile game. I mean, the elemental projectiles probably will screw her over, but because like it's grabbing an electrified bird out of the. But other than that, like it's gonna be really hard to keep her at a distance when she can just crush projectiles into like oblivion. Um, and something like the time stop is pretty like the time stop is a really really good thing, but not being able to basically only use it like a limited number of times per fight, like not like it has a really long recharge and only lasts for a few seconds, makes it not very effective. Especially when Cerebella, I think, definitely has a speed advantage because none of the arms characters are really known for moving super fast. There's the ninja and all that, but like Twintelle walks everywhere, so she's not exactly a fast-paced mover, which is what makes sense due to her, which is why she would adopt a long-range kind of keep away style of combat. Cerebella is very fast and can, kind of counteract that keep away play style. So not only is not only can she counter all these weapons, but Cerebella is also a very, very up close fighter. She's like a grappler and a pure striker, like a rush character. So she's trying to, land all these giant hits and, do all these throws, and she's doing it with with the strength of something that can crush rocks into diamonds. So I feel like Twintelle's only going to be able to keep her at bay for so long, especially with her having counters to like that kind of long distance game. And like I said, if that time slowdown thing was more effective, if it was more accessible, um, then it would be more of a factor. But because she can only do it once, it doesn't even stop time. It just slows it down, which really just equals the playing field more than anything else. It doesn't really give her an advantage, and even then, it's only for a few seconds. So it's not dependable enough to really give her that much of an edge. And as soon as Cerebella gets in close, I feel like that's the end of the fight because again, Twintelle can't really do that much up close. And like, yeah, the umbrella blocks projectiles and like shields her from attacks, but again, we're talking about somebody who can crush rocks into diamonds. So I think Cerebella probably has this. This is kind of like an Ivy Orchid situation, but obviously different. Um, yeah, but I think this is a good fight. This was a good one for me to do just to get out of the way. I've been doing a lot of like not high profile fights because I've been doing shit like Q versus Mixius Pitalik, but yeah, this was a nice one to just kind of get done and be done with it and move on to other things. But yeah, I can't promise that I'm gonna get anything more done, over the course of the next few weeks. But I'll definitely keep things in mind and keep thinking about it. So, anyway, for Bludgeon 95. Yeah.